first objective is to write a comparison of two quantities as a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities expressed as a quotient. The ratio of the number A to the number B is written in any of the following ways. So the three ways you can write it is A to B, A over B, and A colon B. So again, it is nothing more than expressing a division, but writing it in the three different forms. So for example, what is the ratio of green to red circles? Let's write that in the three forms. So the first color that was mentioned is green. So that would be on top. The second color that is mentioned is red, and that would be down below in the denominator. So on top you're going to have green, which we have two greens, so we're going to have a 2 on top of our fraction, and on the bottom of our fraction we're going to have red, which we have 3 reds, so we're going to have a 3 under the bottom. So to write it in the other ways, the ratio is going to be 2 to 3, 2 over 3, or 2 colon 3. And again, those are the three forms in which you can write the ratio of two quantities. Let's apply that ratio with a real world problem. Joel gets a hit 2 out of every 10 times he goes at bat. Write a ratio as a fraction and then write it in simplest form. So the first number that is mentioned here is 2. That's going to go in the numerator. The second number that is mentioned is 10. That's going to go in the denominator. So here we want to compare the hits to the times that he's at bat. So it's 2 out of every 10 times, so it will be 2/10. And anytime you have a fraction, you must always reduce your fraction. So if we look at the top and the bottom, there is a common factor of 2 that we can take out of that fraction, and that's going to leave us with a simplified form of 1/5. To write that in the three forms, that would be a 1 to 5 ratio, or 1 colon 5. And again, we already have the 1/5, and that's in the fraction form. So there you have it. Again, ratio is simply a comparison of two numbers or two quantities. Okay, at this point I want to just check your understanding of ratio. What I want you to do is to stop the video or pause it and try to work the problem on your own. I want you to find which of the following is 85 tulips to 60 petunias written as a fraction in simplest form. So pause the video, work the problem, and then when you're ready to continue, just go ahead and press play. Okay, let's see how you did. So the first number that is mentioned is 85. That is going to go on top. The second number that is mentioned is 60. That's going to go on the bottom. So my fraction is going to be 85 over 60. Now your fractions, anytime you have a fraction, you must always simplify it. In other words, take out the common factor that's in the numerator and in the denominator. Well, the fact that both the number on top and the bottom, the top number ends, it has a 5 there in the ones place, and then also you have a 0 for the other one. So that tells me there that both of those numbers are divisible by 5. So let's go ahead and take the common factor of 5 out by dividing both the top and the bottom by 5. And what that's going to leave us with is a simplified fraction of 17 over 12, which is choice D. So how did you do? Was that the answer that you got as well? Okay, Good. Let's continue on. Now, when the ratios are used to compare a unit of measures, the units should be the same. So for example, here we're asked to write a ratio here of the phrase 12 miles to 36 miles. And notice that the units are in miles. They are the same. And so when they are the same, all we need to do again is just to write it in fraction form and then simplify our fraction if it's possible. So let's go ahead and write it in fraction form. The first number that is mentioned is 12. That goes on top. The second number that is mentioned is 36. That's going to go on the bottom. Next, we want to take out the common factor in both the top and the bottom. And what that's going to leave me with is a simplified fraction of 1/3, which is a ratio of 1 to 3, 1/3, or 1:3. And there you have it, writing a ratio when the unit of measure is the same. In this next example, we have a ratio where the unit of measure is not the same. So if the units are not the same, what you're going to have to do is convert one of them so that they are the same. So here we want to write a ratio for 10 days to 80 hours. So what we can do is we can turn those days into hours so that we'll have hours on top as well as hours on bottom. So we think about how many hours is there in one day? Well, we know that there are 24 hours in one day. So all we have to do, if we have 10 days, we can multiply that by 24, which is going to give us 240 hours. So now what we have then is 240 hours on top and 80 hours on the bottom. Once we reduce that fraction, or we can just simply divide, because 240 divided by 80 equals 3. So anytime you have a whole number, it has a denominator of 1. So writing that ratio would be 3 to 1, 3/1, or 3:1. And those are the three ways in which we can write this ratio. So when you're converting from one unit to another, again, what you're going to have to do is just decide which unit you're going to convert so that the top and the bottom have the same unit of measure. This process is called unit analysis. Okay, it's time for another checkpoint. We're asked to write the ratio of 8 feet to 12 yards. Notice that the unit of measure is not the same. 8 feet, that's going to be on top. 12 yards is on the bottom. So we're going to have to do a unit analysis so that the units will be the same. Now it might be easiest to turn the 12 yards in the bottom of that fraction, turn it into feet. And the reason for that, if you ever notice a yardstick, there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So if you have 12 yards, you're going to have to multiply that number by 3 because in every 1 yard there are 3 feet. So 12 times 3 is going to give you 36. So on the bottom, instead of 12 yards, when we convert it, it's going to be 36 feet. And so now that our unit of measure is the same, 8 over 36, 8 feet over 36 feet, all we have to do now is cancel out the common factor of 4 from the top and the bottom, and what that's going to leave me with is a simplified fraction of 2/9, which is choice B. So that ratio is 2 over 9, 2 to 9, or 2:9. And there you have it, using unit analysis to compare a ratio of two quantities.